Alright, I'm going to tie a pheasant tail Jig-Solitude. The hook I have in the vise is just a size 12 wide gap jig hook. It's paired with a 1/8 regular tungsten bead, not a slotted one. I just reverse the bead and it'll slide over on some of the bends. So I'm just going to take my thread, I'm going to start it right behind the eye, and we're going to work back. I don't think it left enough tag to rip, so I'll have to cut it. And we're going to take our thread down just slightly into the bend. Next, what we need is our pheasant tail, and mine's a little bit shorter than I'd like, so I'm going to go with about 6 or 7 fibers. I'm just going to pull them out to the side, get the tips lined up. I'm going to tie these in so that the concave side is facing up, and I'm only looking for a distance in the tail that's roughly half of the hook shank. I'm going to place just a few wraps in and lift that tail, kind of splay it out. I'm going to jump my thread to the front. That'll work. Next, I need my wire, which is a copper wire, and I'm going to slide that right into the bead and out the front, and place a couple wraps over, and then just pull until that slides into the bead. I'm going to try to keep this on top. I like my wire coming out the bottom side of the fly, and the top in this case is going to be the bottom side. We can wrap up and hold still. It'll go, it'll work. So I'm going to wrap the convex side facing the shank and start working it forward. If you have really short tail, pheasant tail as it were, you may have to do the tail separate from the body and tie in a separate set of strands for the body. And we're just going to work this up to the front. And I'm going to tie this in again on the top side. Work my thread back just a little ways. Now we can get rid of all of this. And now we'll bring up the rib. And we're just looking for 4 to 6 turns, evenly spaced. Catch the wire in. kind of clean up this neck here. I'm going to invert the fly. Next, I'm going to put in the flashback. So I'm going to slide the tinsel underneath. This is Opal Mirage tinsel. And start to work it to the back. I'll trim out the short piece. And we're going to take that just slightly into the body. Okay, bring my thread back forward. And put in a dubbing loop. Come forward about half of that distance. I'm going to leave my fingers in the dubbing loop. I'm going to grab a couple pieces of peacock herl, trim the tips out. Tie this in so that the dubbing loop and the peacock herl meet up. Just ever so slightly into the body. Bring that all the way up front. Okay. I'm going to take one of these pieces of herl and just move it out of the way because I may not need it. We only need one piece of herl here, but oftentimes one piece of herl breaks when you start to twist it up and core twist it with your thread. So I put one in reserve so I don't have to undo the fly or add more bulk. So I'm going to just twist this up. And I'll start bringing it forward, twisting it up as I need it. This will just reinforce your thorax. I'm just going to take it all the way up to the thread. Oop. Tie that off. And trim the dubbing loop and the herl out. Now if you still have one in reserve, you can just snap it off and save it for another fly. Next I'm going to take my flashback and I'm going to bring it over and up to the bead. And tie that off. Okay, I'm going to flip my fly back over. I'm going to put in another dubbing loop. Bring my thread all the way up. Make sure this is untwisted. Get my wax. Wax the fly. I'm going to use my dubbing twister, double-sided, just to keep it open for the moment. While I get my soft hackle collar. This is actually a two-part collar. One part of this is partridge. I think the original didn't have partridge. It just had CDC. So I'm going to prep the feather just like, oh, sorry if that was out of camera, just like this. So that this is what I have here. And now I'm going to take a piece of CDC and I'm just going to gently open it up, tease it out. Now I'm just going to lay concave side to concave side. Let me do that so you can see it. Sorry, it's difficult sometimes with the camera holding the way. I'm just going to line this out so that they're both stems are pretty much lined up. Now we're going to slide this in to the dubbing loop. This part's a little tricky, so we got to sneak in there and trim the stems out. And what I'll do, just to help, because usually there's a little gap of thread right there, I'll take a drop of glue and put a little bit of glue on that thread. Take my hackle pliers. I don't twist these up with the spinner, doing these two really fine fibers like this. I think that it messes up the CDC a little bit. So I'm just going to twist it by hand. You can take a second to do this part. But you do want to see everything starting to twist. Okay. And if this little thread tag gets in your way, just get rid of it. Twist that up a little bit more. And we'll start to palmer this forward together at the same time, just gently drawing everything back as we wrap right up to behind the bead. There we go. Now I'll take one extra turn in front of my hanging thread, and I can place some tight wraps over, capturing it. Alright, trim out my tag from my dubbing loop. I'm going to put about 3, 4, 5 turns in there. This way it'll keep the collar nice and small. I guess you can make a bigger collar if you want. I'll just glue the thread, come right down on top, and then I'll put it in 4 to 5 turn whip finish. And then just for extra protection, I'll take just a little bit more glue. You know, sometimes, I'm sure some of you guys see me put all this glue on there and you're like, why do you glue it so much? Well, I'd rather have it not fall apart. And I have the option to do it, and so I do it. Okay. There you go. That is a pheasant tail jig Solitude. This one has a little bit of a twist to it. You can obviously tie them much faster than 15 minutes. But it takes a little bit more time to show prep and everything else, so not a big deal. That's it. If you like the videos, always appreciate a thumbs up. Subscribe, share, and happy tying. Take care, everybody. We'll see you later.